Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and hope you're enjoying the conference and learning a lot of new things. So today, our panel is going to speak about what makes a best AI strategy and how the data strategy contributes to that. So I'm delighted to welcome our panelists here. So first, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Prital Ullal, and I am Executive Director at Morgan Stanley in their Analytics, Data, and Tech, and in the Wealth Management organization. So I'm going to go around the room and introduce our panelists, and then give them a minute to talk about themselves. And at the end, they're going to tell us their favorite sports team. So let's start with you, Sergio.
Thank you. My name is Sergio Ferragut. If that's too hard, then Sergio Ferragut works. I'm a developer advocate for Tecton. My career started a long time ago in the data space. I've been in the data space for a while. I worked for Teradata in professional services and in application development, so software engineering. Since then, I've been in a few startups, always in the data space. Tecton is in the ML and AI feature platform space. So now I'm a developer advocate here for learning the technology and trying to teach the technology for others.
And your favorite sports team?
Favorite sports team. I hate to say it, but the Patriots. Because everybody hates the Patriots. But, you know, I was there all the way from the 70s, and I went through all the bad times and the good times. So if you wait, the good times come. And we're back at the bad times.
Arpit?
That's good. Hey, this is Arpit Gulati. I am Associate Director Analytics, primarily in the marketing analytics space for the Clorox company. Clorox owns a lot of renowned brands like Kingsford Charcoal, Brita Filters. Of course, we have the cleaning division. I primarily sit in the marketing analytics space, and I've been in the CPG, consumer packaged good industry, for almost a decade now. We primarily work on pricing, mix modeling, optimizing media spends. My favorite team is Indian cricket team, which is we're very proud of. They recently won the World Cup. So yeah, die-hard fan of the Indian cricket team.
Great. And Nick?
Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody, taking your time and coming to listen to us. So I'm Nick Whatley. I work at Southern Company. I'm the Director of Enterprise Data and Customer Analytics there. I spent my entire career at Southern, so I've been in the utilities industry for 13 years. Most of y'all probably know Southern Company through our local electric utility providers like Alabama Power and Georgia Power. I would go Roll Tide, so Alabama football, Alabama basketball. Probably dangerous to say that here in the state of Georgia, but that's my favorite team.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So let's get started. I think we all agree that data is an extremely important ally for having a good AI strategy. So Nick, let's start with you. How can organizations align their data strategy to their AI goals from the outset?
Yeah, that's a great question and an interesting one for us. Sitting at Southern, we do have kind of parallel ongoing efforts in both areas, right? And I think that's an important distinction. Is it's not just like a strategy that you do it once and it's done. For either topic, for data, for analytics, for AI, for Gen AI now. You've got to think about the intersection of the two. You've got to think about how they completely connect to each other. But the main thing we're thinking through and the way we're getting buy-in and really creating better awareness is tying it to business value, right? Like it's not just data for data's sake or AI for AI's sake. It's to create business outcomes and business value for our employees, our shareholders, our customers. It's got to be driven by those kind of pieces. And data is the foundation, right? It's kind of the fuel for all of that advanced analytics, machine learning, AI. And if you don't get that part right, your execution of those strategies is going to fail, and you're going to be revisiting them very, very quickly. The other part that I always point to is building out the ability to kind of replicate it and to learn from it, right? So there's got to be a feedback loop. It could be on the data side, more of the quality, the availability of that data. And on the AI side, it might be more about the accuracy or the usability of the model. The other piece for us that I would kind of end with is really on just being able to tie it across multiple areas, right? Like over the years, we've built strategies for more like data and analytics. I think at one point it was big data was kind of the buzzword. And they were very much like put into a bucket, a business unit or a company that we all operate alongside. So right now what we're doing is we're taking parallel paths on data and AI strategy as well as compliance governance. And we're saying, hey, we've done these in pockets. We've got to put these together. We've got to kind of connect the dots and make them interoperable. It's easier said than done, right? But communication across the leaders, a direct connection and how you structure those teams is really important. So that's kind of how we're tackling the problem, and talking to others in the utility industry, it's a pretty common approach.
Okay, that's great to know, because I think we can all agree that energy is going to be a much needed thing, especially with all the GPU processing that's needed. So Arpit, you're from the CPG background, and I think we all know that CPG companies have vast amounts of data and products. So tell us, when you're starting out, how do you take an inventory of all your data products?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Belonging to the consumer product good space, there is a wide variety of data from retail POS, household panel, that could be consumption data. There's a lot of data coming in from media and marketing. So social listening, brand watch, all of those media platforms are coming in. What we have been doing is we have been prioritizing on how these data align to our key KPIs. So if we want to move the needle on market share, or we want to move the needle on optimizing our media, we try to prioritize it and then start building inventory. And once we have identified these goals, we try to adhere to coming up with comprehensive data audits. So what we have done here is we have created a lot of data health trackers, because a lot of data can come in, but it could be incomplete, or it could be not accurate, which can go into the model and give us results which are either biased or inaccurate. The third thing, which is more important when you try to build the inventory, is how do you connect these pieces together, right? So there is social media data, there is social listening, there is sort of text data, there is data from POS, but how do you start about tailoring all of these things together is the art that is coming into picture now. So instead of looking into data as a silo, just looking at social media trends on what consumers are saying or voice of consumer, we're trying to now come up with a holistic approach, saying, okay, this campaign did really well at search, also did really well at paid social, but what was the ROI of that? So, getting a holistic picture and tying it together is one of our key goals to, building inventory.
Okay. So, Sergio, I think we know that when we have data silos, that's adversely impacts, our AI goals. So just tell us a little bit about, how do you overcome that?
Sure. So we see many customers come to us in that state, right? Like you're both describing, for different reasons, you end up with different silos. Maybe it's different data science teams or different data engineering teams that have built separate solutions for different purposes. And what we see is that ends up creating a lot of wasted human resources, a lot of wasted compute resources, and ultimately more cost than if you break it down. And how you break that down is, as you've both mentioned, is try to centralize, right? Centralize, so I say centralize and standardize. So we espouse the concept in the ML world of features as code, and having a standardized way of creating data pipelines for different types of data, like unstructured and structured data, so these customers come to us with all of these different silos, with different kinds of pipelines, streaming, real time, and batch, and by guiding them towards this features as code approach with a single platform where they start migrating all of these disparate data pipelines, they find that there's a lot of repeat features across different data pipelines. So they start reducing the number of pipelines, they start reducing the maintenance cost of the pipelines themselves, monitoring the resources, the infrastructure costs. So I think that the solution, like all three have mentioned, is centralize it and standardize it so that the single data strategy can help you reduce the silos or remove the silos, and ongoing build without silos. Even though different teams may have different objectives, they can reuse the work that other teams have done, and that has a virtuous cycle to it.
No, absolutely. I also read recently that the US government has also launched a program so that they can bring all the data in the different departments together, because you can imagine the scale that they need to have all the data connected. So let's now talk about what are the elements. So Arpit, I think we know that a robust data strategy has a lot of critical elements. So tell us a little bit about what you think some of those elements are.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is a great question. I would say some of the key elements, and primarily I would focus on, would be data quality. I think maintaining data quality is non-negotiable right now. With the amount of generative AI that is coming in, it's a trend in the market, it's the kind of data it is generating right now, and it's also a top-down approach. So generative AI has been coming in from top of the organization, wherever, previously we have seen that AI and ML used to come from bottom up, like data scientists used to come in and say, so generative AI is kind of coming from top down, which means that if we are not doing our basics right in having the quality of the data correct, it would give you inaccurate results, right? So maintaining data quality is number one. But primarily in the CPG industry, I would say the second biggest pillar is data governance. So we deal with a lot of first-party data. We know our consumers, we know their email addresses, we know their names, and we need to be very responsible on how we are using. So we need a very strong data governance framework. So from analysts to marketers, how are they using the data? Are they using it the most ethical way? They have to be, very compliant. And then the third pillar that I would need to, one of the elements for the robust system is we tend to build these things quickly because they are coming from top down, right? So a CMO or a CXO would want the solution to be implemented quickly. And what happens with that is the POCs work great, but when we try to scale these systems up, they start crashing or they start breaking, and then the adoption kind of goes down. So once we are trying to build these strategies, I think scalability is one of the biggest pillars that we should focus on with the volume of data that is coming in, the velocity at which is coming in, but more specifically the variety now that the data is coming in. We need to be sure that we are not compromising with speed and accuracy. So quality, governance, and scalability, I would say, are the top three elements what we have faced.
Okay. So Nick, if you can tell us about, from your experience, why data quality is going to influence having good AI models.
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, Arpit just hit on it, right? There's quality, and it's sometimes like quality is in the eye of the beholder, right? Highly regulated industry. Sometimes people are looking for infinite nines of quality. Sometimes people are like good enough to build a model. Like I don't care. So I think defining what you mean by quality is really important. So working with your stakeholders, your end users. If it's customer facing, maybe employee facing, that could dictate what you really need, because at the end of the day, you've got something embedded in a product or a technology that they're consuming, and it's just giving them insights to navigate whatever business situation they're in. It could be the customer's on the line, they're calling with a problem, or they're calling to maybe add a service, and you want to direct them in the right way and start to build out that confidence in what you're building. And that all starts with the foundation of data quality. Investing in the processes from a governance standpoint, an operating model that allows you to attack gaps in the handoffs across maybe your tech team to your business team. And then ultimately, having an accelerator and a tech stack that allows you to do that is really important. So, there are numerous data quality tools out there. There are tons of companies that can help you navigate that if you're kind of treading new ground there. But I think that I always go back to what you're going to deliver is a solution to a person usually, or a technology, and a person eventually experiences that. And so if you back up and just kind of work the pipeline and the process from where the data starts all the way to where they experience it, you'll really start to figure out where you've got gaps, and ultimately, usually it's somebody complaining about data quality, and it's making sure you have a consistent view of what that metric really means and why it needs to be up or down in terms of the level of confidence in it.
Yeah, I think
Can
good
I
point.
add a little bit?
Sure.
So one thing that is also very important in data quality that in data science shows up a lot is this idea of training and serving skew, right? And that's more about data process quality than the data itself. There's cleaning the data before it gets to the data processing, but having, again, centralized and standardized and features as code allows you to completely eliminate the training serving skew that usually arises in many data science and predictive models when they get to production, and the process has changed from the way the training data was created to the way it's being served. So just wanted to add that. Yeah,
and the other thing I was going to add is that we're seeing a lot of frameworks that are being used, especially when you have large companies that have large, massive amounts of data. And the AI tools, have some of these frameworks. Some frameworks, of course, we have to build in-house and bring it all together. So, yeah.
Can I add one more thing? So one thing we're running into, right, we've got a bunch of different operating companies and business units within those operating companies, and we have more traditionally like a hub and spoke model. So the centralized team where a lot of that's going on is kind of where I sit. But when I go talk to my friends at Mississippi Power, Georgia Power, they're looking for flexibility in a framework, right? Like they want the guardrails, but they want to be able to kind of curve around a little bit and do some more creative things. And so we're really focusing on not stifling that, but keeping them, within something that will keep them safe, secure, and not build out like technical debt and things. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we want to keep our friends happy. Okay, so Sergio, I think we all agree that the AI is coming at such a fast speed, so we need to look into the future. And so how do we future-proof our system so it can handle this innovation that's coming so fast at us?
Well, this is where I'm going to sell a little Tecton. But no, seriously, I think there are a few elements that are important to a stack, to technology stack that you have, and to a practice to future-proof your data infrastructure. So you need an infrastructure that's flexible. So this is a world that's changing constantly, right? The kinds of feature calculations that change over time. Now we're all talking about embeddings and calculating, vectorizing data to load into RAG solutions, where before we're just dealing with structured data. So having a stack that allows you to evolve as the space evolves is quite important. One of the stories that we have, the recent stories, is we've been building feature platforms for many of our customers, and that's typically a structured data processing platform. And we've recently released the personalization of chatbots, for example, which include a RAG solution, which is now bringing unstructured data. And most people are working with this as unstructured data plus LLM gives you, business-specific or domain-specific generation capabilities. But what we found is that bringing in the structured data that we've been dealing with in the machine learning world for many years now also benefits in the ability to create personalized solutions. So having that flexibility in your platform that allows you to evolve as the space evolves, I think is quite important.
Anything you Want to add, Arpit or Nick, on that? Okay. All right, so I think one thing that we can definitely agree is that there's a lot of challenges when we look at data, when we are creating our models, and especially when we get into the generative AI solutions. So, Nick, can you tell us about some of the data-related challenges that you have seen over the years?
Yeah, so it kind of runs the gamut from when we were doing more just traditional basic analytics to more advanced analytics. The one thing that I've said is we kind of say this tagline, like, get data out of the box. Like, the more eyes on it, the more we learn about the challenges of it. And I think there's always been a negative slant on that, right? Like, if you see something wrong in a model output, maybe wrong is a little bit relative, but it's something that you didn't expect. That's a good thing, honestly. That feedback of, that's different than I expected, because it allows you to go back and kind of question your assumptions that you put into it, your theories that you started out. And I always tell a lot of our leaders and peers that are not as technical, I'm like, it's data science for a reason. Like, the scientific piece of it is like the scientific methodology. So the main areas that we've seen it are, we go down the line and we work a project, and it might be months later, and then we get it to the end audience, and we're like, that doesn't make sense, right? And so they want us to go back to the drawing board. And you've got to involve the stakeholders along the way. They're going to be, the funders of the project that are going to maybe operationalize it, get it to a production state. So I think one is a less technical. It's involve everyone throughout the effort so that they will have that confidence in it and that trust to go deploy it and actually make the impact that you thought you were going to get at the outset. Some of the other things we've seen are just honestly like growing pains of, like, we'll do a proof of concept or a pilot, and like for 10,000 customers it works great, but for 1 million, 4 million, it starts to really break down, it deprecates, and that part of like scaling the solutions is one where I think we've got to really start to shift and turn our focus from POC pilot type work to enterprise-wide, all customers in a certain class, all employees throughout the enterprise for the employee-facing solutions that are being built. I had the opportunity to sit with some call center representatives about a month ago, and there's this great new tool. We built it, deployed it, partnered with an external company on it, and when it was for 5 and 10,000 customers, it worked great. But the performance now, they're on the line with a customer, and it's sitting there spinning, right? I mean, seeing that, watching that happen, you see why adoption's low of the tool. You see why the next time you go to them, they're going to be skeptical. So I think putting yourself in the shoes or the seat of someone that's going to go use the tool is really important towards scaling, because then you go back and address the little technical details that actually drive performance and belief in it.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I would add is that when companies are doing mergers and acquisitions, and then they have models that need to be refined, that's certainly an area where a lot of change has to come in. And another thing is that when the model starts to have drift, there's a lot of training involved, and you have to work with the tech teams to make sure that you get all the data so that the model can be trained. So, Arpit, can you tell us a little bit, with you being in marketing analytics, how important is real-time data to the solutions that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. Specifically in the marketing analytics space, which has evolved a lot over the years, our brands want to be agile. They want to have faster decision making. Specifically for our beauty and skincare lines, we see that the consumer trends are changing very quickly. We do see influencers come in and change our plans, and we have to change our marketing plans accordingly. Real-time data is kind of enabling us. So we work with our media agencies to kind of have more adaptive digital ad placements. And to add to that, we do we have started with in-flight optimizations of the tactics. So real-time data really helps us in like, okay, we deployed these tactics in here, which were for conversion or for awareness. But then real-time helps us in saying, okay, the CTRs are low, or the CPCs are very high. So how can we quickly pivot from running like a digital online video to quickly pivot to a connected TV ad? So that's kind of really giving us that edge over our competitors to in-house some of this retailer media and the real-time media piece, and then working closely with our agency partners. The other thing that I would want to add in here is our consumer trends are also there expecting us to be more personalized. They are okay to pay premium for the personalization space, and a lot of the market share growth these days with the inflationary pressure is really coming from not growing volume, but growing value. And personalization kind of really helps us charge that premium to our consumers. They are demanding it, and then we are trying to personalize those solutions and kind of tailor our strategies towards those consumer needs.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I think we're going to end and we're going to do a lightning round. So I'll just go quickly and ask each of you to give one phrase on why you think AI and data are so important. Let's start with you.
Well, I'll take the question as why, what to do for the data strategy. The one thing I'd say, centralize and standardize.
Arpit?
Yeah, so my phrase would be because Gen AI these days or bots these days do not have no for an answer, right? You ask a question and you're bound to get an answer for it. So my phrase here would be that your data quality is really the fuel and scalability is the engine.
I'll kind of hammer home something that I was saying earlier, and that's kind of belief, trust, confidence, right? Like if you don't do the things that these guys just mentioned, you're going to quickly get a lack of trust, and they're not going to make the impact that you thought you were going to get at the outset of your efforts.
So thank you. So with that, we're going to end. We trust you had a great time with us today. Thank you.